depths of Chicago. Live and direct. It's the Rico No Suave Show. Starring Rico No Suave. With co-host Valerie Malesio. Featuring special guests every Saturday. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here is Rico No Suave. Ritmo.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. Yes, your boy Rico No Suave. Yes, on 1 2 1 2. Woo-wee! I am back, everybody. I am back, ready to go with each and every one of you guys. Man, welcome back to the show. I am back, and when I say I am back, that means yes, I took a little trip for my birthday last week, and it was good. Well, this week I should say. It was really, really good, and I'm so happy to actually be back, man. I hope that you guys had a great week. Feliz sábado a todos, mi gente. Yes, today is 11 de diciembre. Wow, already at the middle of the month. Oh, yeah, that's what happens when my birthday comes around. We make sure the month goes by fast so we can get to that new year and also Navidad. Yes, everybody. And also, who is here with me, my co-host, give it up. Valerie Malesio. What's up, Valerie?
Hey. Feliz sábado, mi gente.
Feliz sábado it is.
I came in today. Roads were really nice and clear.
Nice.
It's a little brisk outside, but what about that wind? My goodness.
Windy City, baby.
Woo!
Windy City. That's what we do.
We definitely lived up to our name in the last 24 hours. And I hear it's supposed to be a little more windy out there, so be prepared.
Yes, be prepared.
Be prepared.
Man. Be prepared. Yes. And of course, you already know we got a lot going on. So let's get into our social media because we have a lot going on right now. All right, so let's get to our first one, www.recognizably.com. Yes, that is our website, everybody, and that's exactly what you'll find. All of our archives, all of our DJs that's actually on there playing some great music, and also the photos as well, too. Ya tu sabe, right? So make sure you go and find out all of our information. Here's the next one.
Instagram.
Boom! Instagram. Yes, Instagram, everybody. Our official Instagram account. You already know. Make sure you go to at Rico No Suave Show. That is where you'll find us. That is where you'll see all of our content, all of our LOL. Man, we giving out happy birthdays and everything out there. So make sure you go and check out our segment there. Here's our next one.
Lots of fun stuff there, guys.
Fun. Yes, and then we already have, our Facebook. Yes. Thank you, Facebook lovers out there. Rico No Suave Show, that's where you'll find us. So make sure you tell everybody about us and let them know, hey, Rico No Suave Show is always there on Facebook.
Like. Love. Make sure you give us shout outs all day long.
All day long. All right, here's the next one. And you already know we also are on Mixcloud. Yes, thank you guys so much for building the Mixcloud with us. Yes, because I know that we were on Mixcloud and we moved back to all our platforms. Yes, Mixcloud.com/Rico No Suave Show. That's where you'll find us. Make sure if you love Mixcloud, you'll find a lot of other great content that's out there. We do have some DJ live sets as well. My man DJ Natrix was on there as well.
Yeah, we just had one there. So make sure you guys register for Mixcloud and grab that account.
Yep. Here's the last one. Oh, yeah. Rico No Suave Show on YouTube. Baby. Right, on YouTube. Yes. So make sure you go ahead and follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rico No Suave Show, everybody. That is where we are at.
Yes.
All right. So, there's so much that's been going on, around town.
What to choose.
Yeah, we got the breaking news for today. All right, everybody. So let's run that breaking news. Here we go. All right. So, Justice Smollett, so this has been going on for quite some time, I know. So just in case if some of you guys don't know what's been going on as far as with Jussie Smollett is, it's funny because, Chris Rock came out with a joke on him. He said his no longer name is Jussie, his name is Jesse now. So, and I'm not gonna bore this for you guys, but and Valerie, please chime in when needed. But I'm gonna call him Jesse. Forget that, Jussie Smollett. That's your name now.
Well, he's already a thing. So,
I know.
You Jussie Smollett someone?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, is that what it is? Jussie Smollett. Okay.
It's already a coined term now.
So Jesse actually, had in Chicago here, kind of faked a robbery or kind of faked a hate crime of two people that he hired to actually, throw racist slurs at him and also try to rob him and also talk about hate crime against gays, right? And one of the things is that it became this big thing. And if you don't know who Jesse is or Jussie Smollett, he was one of the actors in Empire, right? Very well-known show. And I have to say that to be able to have something like this to come up, it's really big. And especially for something like this to happen in Chicago, it's kind of a bad thing because, there's things that happen around the world where people are being robbed, right? And people are also, there's a lot of hate crime as well, too.
I was very, very, very upset and surprised and upset. And those of us that were fans of his, I loved him in Empire. Yeah. I totally was 100% on his team. And then this happened and it's like, oh my gosh. Did he really make this whole thing up? I mean, would someone go to that extent to, say someone did they say they poured gasoline or something on him or something like that?
Something like
that. I mean, it was so dramatic of what he said they did to him and beat him up. I mean, he was beat up too. So apparently he beat himself, or did these people actually do this to him? And you're right on that, Rico. Chicago, we have had things like that happen here. So if you made this up, why would you do that? I mean, I understand wanting to make a point of a situation.
Yes. But
you didn't need to create that situation and fake it because that stuff really does happen.
It does.
And you made a mockery of the people who this has really happened to.
Yeah.
So it was very frustrating. Bit of an emotional roller coaster on that because I was a fan of his. So I get it, people. At first, when you heard this, you're like, oh my God. They did this to him? Oh my gosh. And then the more you heard about the story, it's like, come on, really? I'm so disappointed in you.
Yeah, and I think, and what happens is that it feels very, to me, it feels bad because we're in a city of a lot of opportunity. We're in a city of, there is a change of a pandemic that made our city kind of like, you have to watch yourselves when you're going down the street.
A lot of scrutiny.
We
already have a big magnifying glass in the city of Chicago.
Number one,
we really didn't need all that help.
We didn't need, and we have a lot of segregation that's happening in Chicago in the first place. And when it comes to hate crime and racism that's actually happening, it's so funny that that it's like racism against racism. It wasn't like he hired two Caucasians. It was actually two African Americans or two Africans to actually go into. I said, so where did the racism come into play?
Right, the whole thing was just
it was just all over the place. So I do want to go to a few comments.
Twisted.
Hello, Rhonda from Fort Worth, Texas. Rhonda, how are you?
We miss you, Rhonda.
Yes, we miss you guys. Thank you guys so much. Derek Whitaker, sorry. What's up, Derek? How are you, Papa?
Look at that. Señor Suave. And of course, yes, we have Violeta. Violeta. It's not a show without you, girl.
Yeah, she said you can come to Wisconsin to slay.
Really? It's that cold over there?
It's always cold in Wisconsin.
Is it already snowing
It's
out there?
Always there, yeah.
Let us know, Vil.
Yes, it's always there. And then, of course, Daisy24 is checking in. What's up, Daisy? She said, Jesse is a total narcissist. Anyone who would drag his whole family out of a lie that who does this needs help. Yeah, that's
seriously.
Right.
I mean, correct. I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, again, it's so frustrating. You really wanted to, get behind it, because racism is a very serious thing. Hate crimes, a very serious thing. Yeah. And these are all items that actually happen. He didn't need to push that envelope. Yeah. That agenda's already out there.
Yeah. So now, as you may know, that he went through the whole thing as far as with the trial and everything. So now that he got convicted of 5 out of 6 counts of felony, also they're talking about probation. But since this is his first act of crime, this sentence, actually there is going to be a sentence seen in January for him. So he might get some time in prison in regards to this. And I really do hope that he does get something like this, because, in Chicago, we definitely don't need that, number one. In the world, we definitely don't need that as well, too. And it's really sad that this actually has to come out to somebody of his caliber as an actor. But then also, as far as, his sexuality comes out where people are hating against it. I'm not sure that happens a lot when it comes to, people being homophobic or things like that against the LGBTQ, community. Right. It's just, there's just so much involved in that.
It's disappointing because he had, being a person of color, also being part of, as you mentioned, the LGBTQ community. Yeah. He had such a platform to do such amazing things for that community. And I feel like he just lost all credibility. Yes. And you could have used your platform to implement such change. Yes. And, Derek Whitaker, I see your comment here. He says, honestly, I was talking with my wife about it, and I said it from the get-go. It was a publicity stunt. It was staged because, think about it, when have you ever heard of a noose being used in Chicago? Well, I wouldn't say never, because I think a lot of stuff goes down that's not publicized. But what I will say is, if he did this for publicity, you must have a hell of a PR team, because how you're going to get out of this and looking good and on top, we got to see how that plays out. Well, because right now it's not, they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity, but man, this is horrible. Horrible publicity. This is horrible publicity. Terrible publicity.
Yeah, I don't think anything like this will actually need to be here. Like I said before, around the world, we don't publicize this as something that's actually good. We publicize this as something bad and should not be needed, especially here in Chicago and definitely in certain other states that's actually having this line of issues of violence and criminal activity. We just don't need it. And then it gives it also gives another bad name to our police officers that actually wasted their time in regards to trying to arrest these guys in regards to,
and that are under scrutiny, our officers,
and they're working 24/7 just to try to keep our city safe, right? And to be able to add this on. So I wanted to bring this up because I know this was something that needed to actually be done. And once again, he will be facing charges, but we're glad that he is. All right. I got to introduce this gentleman here, man. It's your boy Rico No Suave, everybody. And one of the things is that I met this guy off the flim. I'm not going to lie, And when I saw this gentleman, I saw his picture. I was like, you know what? That guy looks like he needs to be on my show, right? And when I saw it, us.
It was the way he held the saxophone, huh?
Yeah, it's just the music that's behind it that just drew my attention to him. But at the same time, too, when I got a chance to talk about this gentleman to myself first, just to see exactly who he was, I'm like, oh, this guy is awesome, And then when I finally got a chance to be able to talk to this gentleman, it was the personality behind it, but also he was just a cool musician, And it was just when you just have that swag, and it's like, okay, we got to make sure that we have him on the show. Everybody, this gentleman is an educator. He is a performer. He is also a composer, and he also have albums that he will be talking about that he actually came out with. And I want you guys to support him. I want you guys to stand off your seat. Snap your 2 fingers, act like you got a saxophone, like you're playing music just for him.
Saxophone.
Put your hands together for none other than my man, Shawn Maxwell. Yeah. How are you, sir?
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a good thing you're not like overdoing it or anything. No, like pressure there. Or anything, you know. And I'm glad to know I have like the look or whatever.
You got the swag.
I can stop worrying how I sound on saxophone. Right? No, but seriously, thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for being here. We're gonna jump right into it, man, because you have a plethora of things that we do want to talk about in this hour. And one of the biggest things is not just by you being a musician, but it's what you're doing as a musician that makes Shawn Maxwell, right? So let's start off in regards to the composer aspect of things. How did you become a composer, number one? And what were the steps to be able to compose music?
Well, I became a composer somewhat in college when I was figuring things out. I didn't discover jazz or saxophone until I got to college. Okay. I was a clarinet player from 4th grade all the way through high school, which was cool, and I still play clarinet. Yeah. But I didn't discover jazz until I got to college, and they handed me a saxophone. We need someone, and I started listening, and I started like discovering people like Miles Davis and John Coltrane, Duke Ellington, and all those cats. Yeah. And I remember all of them were composing their own music. And I remember especially Duke Ellington. I remember one of the instructors was like, this is not only one of the greatest jazz composers ever, but one of the best all-around genres American composers ever. And I remember he said something like Duke composed and recorded over 100 of his own compositions. And I was like, I'm going to do that. Nice. And that kind of got me into it. And then like everyone, I wrote a bunch of horrible tunes for a long time, unfortunately. And I continue to do that still, too, for every
I'm sure they're amazing, but, he's probably his biggest critic.
In baseball, if you hit 300, you get 3 out of 10 times you get on base, then you're awesome, Yeah. So every 7 tunes kind of awful, but no, I started doing that more in college, and then as I got out, it's just really, it just sounds kind of dorky. It's kind of finding my own voice and finding out so I write, and even when I perform, how do I sound like Shawn Maxwell? Yeah. I don't want to sound like this guy, or this woman, or whoever. Unique. Even if they are awesome, I don't want to be a clone. So I won't talk about it for the whole hour, but I could. Yeah. It's a bunch of writing and listening to other people and influences, and really the biggest thing for me as a composer, I mean, besides the music theory and all that you got to know, I'm constantly writing for people, places, and things around me. Mm-hmm. I just got done recording my 11th album, which will come out in April of 2022.
Woo!
Yes, sir.
Big things, baby. Big things.
Yeah, this is what we call a cheap crowd pop. I just keep saying. This is where I'm like, happy to be here in Chicago. And everyone goes, that's where we live. And it's an old wrestling trick. Right. Anyway, on all of my albums, all the compositions are like... they're from here because it's from whatever it is that's like there's things for my wife, for my kids, or even someone I don't like, but it's like the emotions.
Hey, he's drawing inspiration from that too. Why not?
It's a journey.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later. But even my latest one is what's all the craziness that's happened to all of us in the last 2 years. There's all stuff going on. So anyway, what was your question?
So no, the composer piece, as far as you writing music, loving. Now, to be a composer, there's much creativity that's involved in that. And what I mean by that is, you get writer's block, right? And also you kind of touched a little bit about the journey of things that who you may like, who you may not like, and also what's going on as far as in your life in order for you to be able to write the music. Now, me and Valerie are like freestylists, right? We love the freestyle. Like, she'll beatbox and I'll rap, right? And what happens, I'm just joking. But what will happen...
I was going to say, let's go for it, man.
But what will happen is that off the top of your head, like when you first start composing music in college, how did it click to you that you wanted to write music?
Like, what did the process look like?
Yeah, what was the process like? Or not even just that, like the process has to start with an idea, right? So when you first started to compose, what was that like when you first in college?
It ties it into, as a jazz musician, a lot of what we do is improvisation.
Yeah.
Like, I won't make you beatbox or freestyle here, but kind of the same thing, you know?
It's the same thing as
freestyling.
freestyling.
It's I do it now in my early 40s much easier than I did in my teens and my early 20s, because now I have more ideas in my head. I'm more comfortable with myself, and I can read situations and jump in and come up with something. And when I was younger, I couldn't, you know, I was like, I don't know what to play. I don't know what to do. So it's kind of it's a lot of listening to other musicians, especially in jazz, but in even other genres. And I'm really influenced by, you know, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Yep. So I got rock and rap, and, you know, I vividly remember when Dr. Dre's The Chronic came out, and I think, you know, Snoop's new album, but I was also listening to Guns N' Roses and all that. So I've been
Such a great time.
Well, do you think another 20 years, younger people are saying this was such a great time?
I don't even know.
I have to disagree, but I'm like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't a good time.
So I guess what I'm saying is it's a lot of listening and listening. What does that musician do? How did they do that? And then it's a lot of copying. Both in composition and performing, because I think they're both are. If I'm performing, improvising, or composing, I think it's really the same thing. Yeah. Just on composing, I can erase it and do it again.
Right.
But it's a lot of, at first, just copying, mimicking, and figuring out, oh, that's why they did that, and that's why that worked, or why that didn't. And then it's kind of taking it and going like, okay, well, how can I be not a clone of so-and-so? How can I put my voice? And then just, you know, unfortunately, it takes a long time.
It does.
You developed your own swag, you know. So now you mentioned you played the clarinet. You also played, I'm sorry, what was the other instrument? Flute. But you found yourself being pulled to the sax, correct?
Yes.
So which is your favorite go-to?
So when I get hired and they send me clinics to all these schools, junior highs, high schools, and colleges, that's what every kid asks me. And I'm always like, well, if I say anything, I'm going to get in trouble. You know, I once said something just joking, flute, and all the clarinet players like, this jerk. You know,
we do ask the musicians here because you'd be surprised at what you hear. You know, they like, I really love to play this. I play this well, but I really love to play, you know, this other instrument.
I'm a human being, and, you know, especially doing my improv, you know, the way I do everything, it's from day to day, it's different. You know, and some days I'm in a good mood, some days I'm in a bad mood, some days I'm just in a mood, you know. So I love playing flute, I love playing clarinet, I love playing sax. I'd say the situation that I'm in, just with the genre and how I handle things, sax is probably more accessible than usually flute or clarinet.
Saxophone is such a sexy instrument.
It is.
It really is.
It is.
Can you email my wife and tell her that?
It is, and it's just the playing, the smoothness of the playing, and you know, you don't have to be like. I would just have this conversation with somebody. You know, when the saxophone's being played, you don't even have to like act it out or be showboat about it. Like the instrument itself is just so amazing and stands out by itself.
But you know, it also comes back, we're going to go back to swag, right? So, and it also goes back to swag as well, too, in regards to how you play it. It's just anybody can actually get up on there and just play. Right, and
he's got his hands backwards, by the way.
Yeah, even if it
get it right, Rico. Get it right, Rico.
I'm just messing.
No,
you're right. You're right. A certain sort of swag.
So when you have that swag, when it comes to playing it, and it is a sexy instrument, right? And have anybody ever came to you and said, you know what, Shawn Maxwell, you played that saxophone like it was your last day on earth?
Kind of.
Or have you heard, you played the hell out that song?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think I'm too old to say the word swag.
No.
So I don't think I'd say that, but I get what you're saying.
I don't disagree.
I'll say smooth. How about smooth?
Smooth. Okay.
So cool. Like it's just
jazz.
Just sax players are the
I
coolest guy in the room.
consider myself smooth jazz either, but no, I totally get what you're saying.
Okay.
Just to clarify.
Well, I think of smooth jazz, and I'm not knocking smooth jazz. I think of Kenny G, and that would definitely not be me.
When I say smooth, it kind of gives that whatever that feel of what Shawn Maxwell
I get
is,
what you're saying,
right? So.
Shawn Maxwell is a cool name.
Soulful, from the soul. That's
but see, even the name Shawn Maxwell that's a cool name.
Exactly.
That has swag by itself.
You guys want to start like being my press people?
You know we will.
You know what? We'll have our people reach out to your people
and teach everyone how to spell Shawn.
There you go.
That's one. It's mine is SHAWN. I've seen SEAN. I've seen TION.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been a school of ebonics.
Sean T. That is honestly one I have not seen.
I've seen it all.
That's a new
Believe me,
one.
I've seen it all.
Wow. Okay, so
I'm getting us off subject. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. So the composing piece, you kind of talked about that. Now, also, is it more instrumental composing, or is also with vocals?
I have yet to dig into actual vocal lyrics.
Okay.
I've worked with vocalists. I like more musical right now. It is something, and I've got plans for the next 20 albums.
Yes, sir.
So at some point, I'm going to tackle that with vocals. I haven't gotten to it yet. When I do work with vocalists, I kind of treat them as themselves horn players.
Yes, sir.
So they're singing melodies and stuff without words.
Yeah,
nice.
I like that. So, the composing piece, I have to commend you on that. And how long have you been composing? How many years would you say?
I've been a professional musician for 21 years now, so about that. I've been a decent composer for part of that, at least.
Okay. That's not including the songs that you said that were bad, right?
Oh, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't. Those are in a vault somewhere. You go back to them once in a while when you have writer's block for scraps. You see, like, what can I pull off of that piece of
So in your in some of our discovery for you, there's a quote in here from Chicago Jazz Magazine that says, in reference to one of your albums, that it's refreshingly distinct yet recognizably Maxwellian.
That's hot.
I know that's. I think his name is Hrayr, who did that review. He's an awesome dude, and he's a great supporter of mine. And that's Maxwellian. He kind of coined that, and that's a lot of people have started saying that too. When I write, like I said, I'm taking all kinds of genres. I clarify myself as a jazz or a musician.
Right.
Jazz is my main focus, but you can hear rock and rap and all the things that I have grown up with and like. And that's my big point is I don't want to sound like all my heroes. I love my heroes.
Yeah.
Right.
But like I want to sound like me. You can hear little pieces of them in there. So whenever I compose, whenever I'm playing, whatever I'm doing, I want to be me.
Yes.
And I want to fail or succeed as myself. So the Maxwellian thing, that's I hope other people say that too. When you hear my tunes,
love
that's
that.
a cool name.
It
Maxwellian.
is.
And it's almost
Find
like
your Maxwellian.
Maxwellian, yeah.
Stay
but also,
true to your Maxwellian.
It almost gives the whole McLovin. You know what I mean? The McLovin, right? You know what I mean? It's like I'm just saying because the Maxwellian, but the McLovin it gives a swag again, right? And what happens is that you have for so many years, 21 years, that's a long time as far as to be a musician. And as much soul and heart that you put into, the music for magazines and also for us to be able to give you that, it's an honor, to be able to say that. It does. I mean, it makes because coming out with music and how many albums that you came out with, and also the accolades coming behind that of the credit that people are giving, it comes up to this point that you're not stopping. You keep on moving, and then those more accolades. And you said you have music for how many more albums, you said?
Well, I don't have the music all, but I've got the ideas and planned out for at least 10 or 12 more.
Wow. So you've already completed, is it 9 albums?
Well, I have 10 out right now.
Okay,
we just finished mixing and mastering the 11th, which will be out April of 2022.
That's hot.
Okay, so for those 11 albums, during the time that you were composing any of those, did you ever have that one when you're like, man, I just can't seem to finish this one? Was there ever one that just took super long to finish up?
I have had tunes that I write in 2 minutes, and they're awesome. And I've had tunes that I spend 10 years on, and it still is kind of meh. you know, and I've had, you know, like, I have notebooks, a pile of notebooks of staff paper, of written things, everything pretty much I've ever written. And I have, there's a computer program, Finale, that I use. You put it in and kind of make it. I have, between the two of them, just, you know, thousands of files, you know, stuff that's completed and became a tune. And then just, you know, I've got a folder called Work in Progress. And some of those in there are as new as last week, and some have been there since 2004.
Do you have a particular song on any of your albums that is like nearest and dearest to your heart?
Oh, that's kind of like saying, like, which one of your three kids is best? and you know what?
He loves them all just the same.
And with my kids,
just
on certain days, I'd be like, Jackson's my favorite.
Right?
No, Ava's winning today, you know. But I don't know.
It's so
really
many
depends.
albums, though. It's so much
lot.
music.
Yeah.
You know, one that wouldn't.
Anyone that maybe stands out for you?
I wouldn't say it's not like necessarily my favorite. It's one that kind of was one of my first album, and has been like, you know, one that's carried over that we still have in the mix of when we're going out and touring and playing. One of the pianists I've been working with since like 2005, he calls them Maxwell Classic. You know, like, we use some Maxwell Classic, and it's like, okay, cool. Dangerous Curve is one that's been off of my first album, and I re-recorded it a few albums ago. I lose track of which one, but
sure.
But that one is a good example of just me trying to sound like myself and be myself, kind of not only in the chord structure, but I like to mess with time, like weird time signatures, and just kind of like subtly, you don't even realize it, but if you were to dance to it, you're like missing a step, kind of.
You're like, did I just fall down?
Well, I've seen people dance to it
Right,
too, unknowingly.
Did you mean
move.
to spin me out like that?
Yeah.
We do have a question. We do also have a comment from Violetta. She says, "Oh, you should try salsa too, like as far as music for salsa, because there is Latin jazz. One of our supporters, Johnny Blas, plays Latin jazz as well too. I don't know if you know who Johnny Blas is.
I do, yeah.
Do you? Okay. Yeah, so Johnny Blas actually has that Latin jazz type upbeat salsa. But that was just a comment saying, "Oh, you should try it too." And then Derek Whitaker actually says, does he stream his music? So do you have your music as far as on like Spotify?
You can find my
YouTube?
music everywhere. Spotify. What are the other ones?
So you got the YouTube and stuff?
We're on YouTube. You can also find at my website, ShawnMaxwell.com, SHAWN.
Yeah, and we do have,
not TION.
Yeah,
we do have that. We're gonna show that. We're gonna show your also your social media handles at the end.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you go there, you can find links to everything.
Got it.
Performance-wise, I have another question for you. I asked you that question about your song, and I love to ask performers this. Is there any one performance that stands out above the rest? And why is
I mean,
that?
there's certain ones that kind of do. A couple years ago, before the pandemic, we played the Chicago Jazz Fest. It was the first time I played it as a leader, which was awesome.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. And it was just full of people, great reaction, and it was just a lot of fun. I mean, I remember that. I remember my first tour as a leader, going out of town with my own band, and like the good and bad of I'm in charge, and oh crap, I'm in charge. I remember some of those. I mean, there's so many. Again, I hate to dodge yet a second question in a row from you, but
no, that's a perfectly fine answer. I mean, sometimes there are those I never thought I would. Those are those surreal moments when you're like, wow. You know, maybe when you first started, like, I'm really doing this.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I haven't become numb to it, but it's just so natural now. Sometimes it doesn't like click until later, like a day later or a week later. Sometimes even a year later. It's like, man, did I play that festival?
Reflecting on it, yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'm pretty good. Yeah.
You already know, everybody. We got my man Shawn Maxwell in the loft, and I'm so happy to have him here today. It comes up with the next question, sir. You ready?
All right.
Let's get
Is
it
about
on.
the weather?
So, being an educator, it's almost like being, of course, a teacher, right? as well. The educator piece behind this, when I think of an educator, it's, of course, someone that's teaching, someone that's actually have a group of kids or group of youth or adults in general. Where did the educator piece come into play when it comes to Shawn Maxwell?
You want 100% honesty.
Yes.
It became something that I did not want to do at first.
Okay.
It was something that there's an old stupid saying. Now I'll say it's stupid. Back then I used to think it. Those who can do, those who can't teach. And I think now, as an educator myself, it's the dumbest thing.
It really is, because that is so not true.
I will tell you, I know many great performers who can't teach their way out of a wet paper bag.
Teaching is
and they have a wealth of knowledge up here, but they
Yeah.
don't know how to convey it.
Yes,
I've
sir.
seen this,
Yes,
and I
sir.
won't name names,
Yes, sir.
but I've been, at clinics where I'm doing something to someone else, and I see someone who's an amazing player talking to students, and I just see the blood about to pour out of the students' eyes because they're like, I don't know what this dude is talking about.
Right? Like, did you get any of that? Because
I started educating and teaching and doing some lessons and classes and stuff because, quite honestly, in the beginning, I didn't have any gigs.
Right.
Or I had very few, and I needed to pay my rent. And,
Yes, sir.
I needed to make a living.
Yes, sir.
So I begrudgingly did it, and I was really bad at it first.
Sure.
Because I would teach, if you were a student, I'd teach you like you were me.
Yep.
I already know this stuff.
Right.
And I'd
Right.
say, well, you do this and that, right? Okay,
Right.
here, play it like this. And they're just looking at me. I became a good educator when I decided that I need to break it down.
Mm-hmm.
And I really need to not only be able to explain one little core thing, I need to be able to break that apart and do it 20 to 30 different ways.
Yes, sir.
Because each student is different,
Yes.
And when I did that, I became a much better educator and getting progress. And people, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And it was the other thing too is I became a better performer.
Right.
Because I know this stuff up here, but then I'm like saying to myself, well, I just spent this week telling these 20 kids, whatever, the same thing 400 different ways.
Right.
And it opens up a door in my head. It's like, why don't I try that?
Yeah, right?
you
Well,
stay
I
on,
think that way.
sometimes, as a performer, I mean, we even experience this sometimes with dancing. I mean, sometimes you need to revisit the basics.
Yes.
You
I'm
get to different
Big
levels.
basic guy.
And you
Yes.
need to go back to kind of the roots and refresh, if you will.
I'm with you 100%. I do that when I'm teaching and even when I'm practicing. I have a
Yes.
daily routine. I have some if you walked in and heard me practicing this, you'd be like, why is he doing that? I've been doing that for 30 years. And I'm always getting better at it. I'm always assessing and going like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that way? Why am I not doing this way? What happens if so yeah, I could bore you to death on my practice routine, but it's a lot of basics.
I have to give big shout out because he's also a musician. Big time 80s guy, my man Roberto Guzman. What's up, Roberto Guzman? What's up, Papa?
So apparently we're all going to Roberto's house on Wednesday.
Yeah, because he's grilling.
He's grilling.
Yeah, he's grilling. He's grilling. So, one of the things is that, and I would love to connect you with Roberto too, because Roberto has like
Great.
a unique sound. That would be awesome for you guys to get together as well. But we talk about teaching because for me, teaching comes with performing and teaching. When you're performing, I call my teaching a performance. And when I call that a performance, it's because you're in front of people that needs to understand that they're learning some things, but you also want them to clap for you that they actually learned something really well afterwards.
Well, you make it fun.
And it's the credit that you get behind it. So being a salsa teacher in general, when I'm going out there, people say, oh, you're going to teach today? Yeah, I'm going to teach and perform today. Oh, you're going to dance for them afterwards? No, I'm not. I'm going to actually go ahead and teach some people so they can actually dance, so they can actually show me what they learned as their performance, right? And what happens is that it becomes kind of that community of, man, you know what? I love the way Shawn actually did that. He actually broke it down because not a lot of teachers do that. And not a lot of teachers in general, I shouldn't say in general, sorry. There's some teachers.
I think you're right, in general.
You hit it right. Yeah.
No,
I don't want to
them,
make it. I don't want to
yeah.
because there are good teachers that's out there, but there's certain teachers like myself that I get credit. Thank you to my students. Is that you broke it down, breaking it down and being detailed helps the person go further
Right.
in their career for them to understand.
Well, you're going to have teachers that do the bare minimum, and you'll have those that'll actually try to get through to some, which is a great teacher versus good teachers versus great teachers.
True.
So.
True.
I think also, I think, I won't say a majority, a high percentage of educators are not as effective because maybe sometimes the constraints of what they have to do at a school or where they're at. But I think a lot of time people just don't know.
Right.
I have a couple of endorsements with some products that send me out prior to COVID, hopefully coming back next year.
Yes, sir.
But prior to COVID, they would send me to junior highs, high schools, and colleges, and they would pick up the tab and just pay for everything to me, not only to work with the students, but to work with the teachers, to be like, hey, I know you want them to improvise, but we got to do this first, and we got to do that. And like a lot of teachers like, well, I didn't know that. That's not how my teacher did it. We just did it over and over and over and hated it until we got it. I was like, well, why don't we show them this? And so, I'm with you. And when it comes to educating, not only breaking it down, covering the basics, but also just kind of trying to make it fun. You seem like a fun dude. I don't know if I leave you're like droopy and drown or anything like that. But I like to mess around. I joke with the kids too. You talk to them. And just whether it's a junior high kid or a college student, you connect to them somehow. Get it? So some of my favorite educators, I wanted to hear what they said, because I liked how they seemed interested in me.
Yes, sir.
They were always, and then whenever I see a student, or if I go somewhere, whether I know them or I don't, I'm like, hey, what's up? What'd you do last night?
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, why do you want to know that?
Yeah.
You're like, that teacher just asked me.
Not in a bad
and it's
way.
It's good to know what's going on, because that shows that you care.
That's right.
I mean, these kids, what we understand now, these kids have home lives. Sometimes you have to go a little extra. With
and then
helping them out.
Because of that, then they're willing to go, you know what, this seems complicated, but I'm going to listen to this dude.
Yeah. It makes a big difference in regards to seeing the faces of them coming in and thinking that this is going to be boring students.
Well, to be honest, education in general, how the way it's done, is boring.
And that's what I love to, and that's where the...
Am I not supposed to say that?
Well, it depends on how you approach it, as far as, because, even if I have like I have a 10-week course, right? When they come in, they just thinking, oh, it's going to be just another class and that's it, for people that don't know who I am, or maybe not know who you are, or even Valerie, right? But as soon as you start talking, it brightens up their day. Like, wow, what did I just pay for? I didn't even know that this was going to be like this.
They don't realize they're putting in the work because it's fun.
But exactly, and they don't know that the participation.
You trick them into learning.
Right.
It's kind of like putting your dog's medicine in a piece of cheese. It's like, I'm getting a piece of cheese. I don't even know that something good's happening for me.
All of a sudden, I feel good again.
I have that.
That was the greatest piece of cheese I've ever had in my life.
I've been going to a school on Fridays. The band director's a friend of mine, and he came up some bread. He's like, can you come and help? We're having some problems. I've been out there for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and like as I was walking in this last one, these kids are running up to me. Oh, it's today? Yeah. And the director's like, yeah, they really only like Fridays now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Well, I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad they're happy to see me.
He's like, sucks to be you, but I'm glad they're happy to see me.
I think, with the education piece, I think it's, once again, I think it's such a great thing to actually have when you break something down where people can really understand it, right? And I think that makes you part of your journey and part of you being a composer, an educator now, because now when you're composing the music and you're putting it into reality, and then when you put it into reality for the students to be able to learn, they're getting that composing piece involved with the education piece to see, why did he just break that step like that? Like, he just broke my ankles on that. I don't know why he just skipped that beat. But now I understand why he skipped that beat, because now he came back and said, okay, this is what it's going to look like. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Ankles broke. I need to get it repaired. Now you actually come back and say, oh, this is why I broke your ankles, right? And then it's like, oh, for real? I know not to do that again, right? I know exactly what that missing piece was.
I'm with you.
Then it's kind of like that, oh, man, I see why he did that.
Yeah,
really
it
like
is.
that.
When that light turns on in somebody, well,
Yes.
you just said it yourself. You've had to break it down in several different ways.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because now you're dealing with communication, right?
Yes.
People, not everybody receives information the same.
Oh no, we're all different. At first, I gotta say, so when I write my tune about you, because
Yes.
all my titles are kind of clever Maxwellian kind of things.
Broken
Broke
ankles?
my ankles is gonna be like, I have to do
Broken
that.
ankles is going to be number one in the charts.
That's yeah. But I'm 100% with you, man. It's again, not that I'm trying to solve education problems,
Sure.
but if we just go back to basics, slow down,
Right.
slow down, and have fun with it, and just like I don't know. I see this in music and everything. It's kind of the equivalent, like, okay, math. 2 + 2 is 4. Yeah,
Right.
good. Okay, what's the quadratic equivalent of? I don't know. I don't even know what it means. It's like we jump from that to that. It's like, what? And kids just shut down.
And that's the key about education, right?
Right.
It's like you don't want them to fail on the way of their journey to basically get to the destination, right?
Right,
You don't
smoke.
want them, right, exactly. You don't want them to fail on the way there. You want them to graduate
Right.
to their destination, right? And I think what happens is that as an educator yourself, I have to applaud you, because the first thing I think about, and I was listening for it, was slow down, break it down, because most teachers don't, right? And when you said in general, I was like, man, I was trying to be nice. And then he's like, no, that is true. That is true. That is so true. And it's funny because it is that way.
Yeah,
as well, too.
unfortunately.
It is.
What
It
makes you
is.
brighten? What brightens up your day as far as being? Because at first you didn't want to do the education piece, but the man upstairs was like, you know what? I'm going to make you educated because you have a gift to be able to do that, and he showed you that, right? And what makes your day brighten as far as when you finish a class or when you're educating in general?
When I see students at the end of it that feel good, that feel better, that feel like, you know what, this was bugging me a half hour, an hour ago. Now it's not.
Yeah.
Or just even progress. I teach some one-on-one private lessons. I have a studio from, like, again, junior high to college level.
Yep.
And just like, even like when I'll stop, I'll play along with the student and we'll talk. And then we're like, do you remember, what would you think if we were tried this like 4 months ago? And they're like, oh, no way I could have done that. It's just seeing the growth and the progress, and just will sound cheesy, that the happiness,
Yeah,
There's
what?
nothing wrong with that.
No,
I mean,
there's never nothing
kids
wrong
are
with
so
that.
inspiring. So, it wants you to be a better teacher or better.
Yeah, no,
it's
I enjoy it when that's
Yeah.
happening, and when you have, unfortunately this does happen, when
Yes,
you have
it
the
does.
student that just does not want to listen.
Yep.
It doesn't want to put any
Oh,
effort,
man.
and it's just like,
Or the student that their parent makes them go, but they really don't want to be there.
and I've had tons of those that we end up being great.
Yeah.
We get them. I trick them into it. But there are those that just, no matter what, just don't want to do anything. And it's,
I got a piece of cheese.
yeah. They get the cheese and spit the pill right out, and those are brutal. But I gotta say, percentage wise, at least from my experience
Yes,
right
sir.
now, those are way smaller than the rest. So
Yeah, and it happens. I mean, we get people, as a teacher myself, we get those people that come in, and I always use this story that I had a guy that was outside. My class started at 8:00, and he was outside at 7:50. He was pacing back and forth and would not come inside because he was so scared to take a class. And when he finally took the class, he was so relieved. I'm like, okay, you can go use the bathroom now. So, and he was like, oh my God. He said, I didn't know that the class was going to be like this.
Right.
And that's the cool thing about educating, right? Because when you educate someone, it makes them feel like,
Well,
this
not
is what I
only do
missed?
you teach them, but you learn a lot about yourself,
That's
too.
true. Yes.
In teaching other people, you're like,
Yes.
wow, maybe I should have did this like this, or it helps
well, it
you
makes you a better person.
Yeah,
makes
it
you a
does.
better, like I said, myself a better musician. Just kind of like, yeah, maybe I should take my own advice on slowing down on that thing.
Right. And I think another thing is that it comes with personality connections.
Right.
Personality is the major thing. It's psychological, because you don't know, a person could just look mean just by being there.
But they might
they
have
might not be that. But
a bad day, or maybe they
No.
just don't smile much.
I'm sorry.
So.
I'm referring to them just looking mean, just in general. It's not that they had a bad day, right? It's just to the fact that, oh, that's just the way I look. I'm like, oh, for real? Oh, okay, cool. Let me see you smile because I want to feel better. And I'm sure you probably run into situations like that where a person is like, I don't want to be here, but I do want to be here.
Right.
Right? It's look the face, the appearance.
I get what you're
and
saying.
things like that. So I'm so happy that you're an educator.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. So to our last question, it's at 12:52 already, and you know how time flies when we're having fun, Shawn Maxwell. Performance, I think Valerie kind of touched a little bit about, the performance itself. To become a performer solo in a group, what was your first performance like?
I'm trying to think about that because it's been 21 years since I got out of college. I don't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday.
Got it.
Were you
and it's so many.
Kid? Did your parents used to make you perform for the family or anything like that? With
No.
music?
I didn't really get, even though I played clarinet, I didn't get into music. It wasn't really actually until I got into college and started I was just a lazy dude, to be honest. And I tell students that, too. I did not have my stuff together. I was unorganized. I wasn't driven. I graduated high school, and I had nothing to do with it. It wasn't until my parents are like, I'm from Joliet.
Okay.
And Joliet Junior College was down the road. My parents are like, you're either going to enroll in some classes and figure some stuff out, or you're out of here and you're going to get a job. And that scared the crap out of me. So I was like, I'm going to go. So thank goodness I did, because that's where I got saxophone, I got the jazz, I got on my
Thanks to the parents.
Good job, Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad. Yeah.
Awesome.
They'll never see this because they can't figure out how to get on it. Unless it's on the toaster. They'll be like, I don't know, upload, what? But anyway, so going to the performance thing, I'm just trying to think. I don't know. When I was in college, we started doing gigs and all that, and I can't remember my first paid performance. In retrospect, I wish I would have, I know some musicians who have cataloged every single performance I ever did and written down on it. And I was like, man, that'd be so cool if I had that. I have snapshots of I remember playing as a young person for $20 in this awful R&B band, just awful. And I wish I would have more information. Not that I would dog them right now. And so is awful, but it's like I wish I could recall it more. So I can't.
That was part of your, artist development.
Exactly.
Like Milli Vanilli or nothing.
I would get a much bigger paycheck, I would hope. Isn't it Robin Fab now?
Right. He's like, we really weren't playing. It was all backing tracks.
You just dated the heck out of yourself with that, man. But myself too, because I knew who you were talking about. I remember owning this single.
Really? Yeah, me too.
On my tape, my tape deck.
That's when the singles cassettes came out.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that vividly. See, that I remember my first official gig. I couldn't tell you, but
what about a gig that in college? I don't know. Some colleges actually had talent shows. They did actually had some of them, or maybe they might have a band versus band, or maybe a talent night. Did you ever in college? Did they ever have a talent night, or did you ever play? Well, what about your first club? Your first club that you ever played for?
Again, it's kind of blurry. The overall grand scheme of things, I've played thousands of gigs, thousands of performances, and some have been top notch. And some have been, a friend of mine had it, we would talk yearly, he'd call it the floosh of the year, which was the worst one, And I will say on all of those, even the worst one, I always come out of it learning something. And I know that sounds cheesy too, but
was it like what you thought it was going to be? Because, you grew up seeing MTV and seeing all these shows.
Oh, no.
Did you have this expectation in your mind, I'm going to get on stage and this is going to happen? And then it's like, okay.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing that I talk to students who want to get from student to the professional level. It's the real world of music. There is a lot of cool stuff, but it's not exactly what you think you do. It's not. Yes. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm playing this really big event, and we call them bandwiches. We're gonna feed you, all right. And like, you're not getting steak or anything. It's this ham sandwich wrapped in cellophane in a bag, and you get to a really high-end thing. And you're like, oh, we get fed that here too. Okay.
You don't get the plated meal that everybody else is getting.
They're having steak. You're like, well, that's
you get the
ham.
bandwich.
Bandwich, yeah.
The bandwich.
I love
Yeah,
that.
we talk.
That's another T-shirt. Bandwiches.
Yeah, bandwiches. Right.
Bandwiches.
And that's crazy because, it's just, certain, and I do have some of those things like that grinds my gears, but I would say that when it comes to bandwiches, I tell them, I said, listen, let me go and get a steak sandwich, or let me get what mashed potatoes and what they're eating, because I'm here for you.
We're in the
right?
event world, so
Right.
I've seen it. I
Yeah.
mean, where they're like, okay, you have to supply a meal. It doesn't have to be your plated meal, but you have to provide the band with the meal.
Some places are better than others, but it's not always. You're not always high road.
I had to tell a lady before. I said, you know what, Miss Shawn, you probably appreciate this. I was like, she comes in and it's like, oh, this photographer's like, hey, this lady gave us cold meals when it's cold outside before. I was like, oh, really? I said, you know what? I just talked to her. I said, excuse me, madam. I said, I was going to say it like Grey Poupon. I was like, excuse me, madam.
That's another dated reference.
Right.
I was
Excuse
like,
me.
can you do me a favor? And she's like, oh, yeah, for sure. I said, can you take this back and put this in a microwave and heat this all up? We got a really nice meal. We appreciate it, but it's too cold.
She's like, for all 12 of them?
No, she was like, oh, no problem. The photographer looks at me like, wow, what did you do to her to actually get your meal hot? I'm like, all you have to do is just talk to her, right?
Most of the time, that will work.
It will work, right?
Well, we just have to make sure we
awesome.
build that into the contract. Must be a hot meal
Yes.
included with their break.
So what is the biggest audience you ever played for?
Man, I didn't take a head count. I'd probably be.
You got homework to do. Okay.
Well, I'm sitting there, 902. That guy moved.
Did he just leave and come back? Wait a minute.
Some of these outdoor festivals, had to have been, 1,000-ish people or somewhere around there. I've done some packed theaters, so I mean, rather large. Look, I
have you ever been
like
super nervous to go out and play? Maybe somebody was there that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm playing.
Yeah, I've gotten into my head at times, and I think I've gotten old enough and experienced enough. I'm not going to say I don't get in my head anymore and get nervous, but I'm just too stubborn and too old to care anymore. And it's in a good way. In a good way, because
I don't care what you think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've had some like higher end people that I respect, like in the crowd or backstage. I'm like, man, I don't want to look like a schlub in front of this dude. Yeah. And I've had times where I tense up for a minute, but then I'm like, yeah, but you know what?
It is
again,
what it is.
cheesy. It is what it is, and I'm going to be me.
Yeah,
I'm going to be me, and if I'm worrying about that, I'm not being me, and then I'm not going to do it right. So yes, there are nerves, but like I don't know, I just tried to. Yeah, who cares?
Just play.
Yeah, play, and that's one of my saxophone instructor in college. His name's Perry Rask, and one of the best things he ever said to me. He taught me all this music theory, all this technique, and he's like, it's important, but when you get to the point, you just got to forget all this crap and shut up and play. Yeah, and I didn't understand what he meant until much later. I was like, oh, yeah. Just get out of my own way.
Game on,
I like that, man. I like that. Well, we're at the 1 o'clock hour, but before we get out of here, I have a shirt for you.
I was going to make a note that I'm the only one in here without a shirt. I drove all the way here. You didn't even give me a shirt.
Patience.
So we definitely have a shirt for you.
Yes.
Man. You are a composer, you are an educator, and you are also a performer. And one of the things is that this shirt represents, what the Rico No Suave Show does for people like yourself of giving great recognition of all of the hard work, 21 years worth, right, of work.
11 albums later.
Right? So I want to give this to you.
I appreciate it.
And welcome to
all right,
the
thank
party,
you, man.
Welcome to the party. Yes.
Now, if for our audience, if you can see the beautiful artwork in front of you, that is one of Shawn Maxwell's albums.
Yes.
And can I say real quick, this is my latest album. The artwork is by a local artist, Louis Ankenbach.
Okay.
Very nice.
What we did is when we got the completed album, I sent the first draft to him, and I was like, can you paint to the album and just what you feel? So this is what he painted in reaction
while
to
listening.
While listening,
Wow.
and the album was recorded in the heart of the pandemic. It's a long story, but we were just sitting at home, and I was like, I have to do something. And I've been composing all throughout 2020. I composed the things around me, and I was watching the news.
Good
and
for
I was
you.
seeing
That's
stuff
amazing.
like the George Floyd thing.
Yeah.
Climate change. All the
influences.
nonsense with politics. Everything
Yeah.
that happened in 2020. There's 17 tracks on here,
Woo!
all about stuff that's happened in 2020, and
All
I've got
poured into that album.
all in that. And there's 30 different musicians all throughout. I'm the only one that's on each track. Each track has different musicians, different instrumentation, and
Nice.
I recorded all of my tracks at home, and then every other musician recorded their stuff at it. So we were never even in the same room.
That's hot. Oh my God.
And
that
where
is
can we
nice.
find this album?
They can find that at ShawnMaxwell.com, ShawnMaxwell.
So we do have your website, so let's put that
All
up
right.
there. There it is,
ShawnMaxwell.com.
ShawnMaxwell.com. Everybody, that's where you'll find out everything about Shawn Maxwell.
And you're streaming, they can buy it streaming services off there too?
Yes,
Okay,
so you can do that, or
perfect.
through Apple Music or iTunes as well.
Apple Music or iTunes. There we go, guys. Make sure you grab your copy of Expectation and Experience by Shawn Maxwell.
Yep, and we also have his other, let's pull up his other information as well. We have him on Facebook, Shawn Maxwell, so make sure you go to Facebook, check my man out there. And then he also have an Instagram at the Shawn Maxwell.
The Shawn.
Right, the Shawn Maxwell. Yes, I think we have a
The
Twitter.
Shawn with an SH.
No, we do have it on,
YouTube
on
as well.
YouTube. Shawn Maxwell, 1976, baby. Yes, 1976. Yes. So
You know,
make
putting
sure-
my birth date sounded like a really good idea 15 years ago. Now I'm looking and going, oh, man.
So you can definitely find that. And then he's also on Twitter at the Shawn Maxwell as well too. So make sure you tweet him and say, hey, good job on the Rico No Suave show. Yes, I saw your interview. Yeah. So make
Nice.
sure you guys follow him on all of that. Man.
Thanks again for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
So
looking
good
forward
to
to come back
have
some other
you.
time and
Yes,
we can
sir.
talk about Jesse Smollett or something.
We'll hear what type of music could come out regarding that situation.
Before we let you go, the album that you have here is coming out when again?
Well, this is already out. This
That's
is available.
number 10?
You can get, this is number 10. You can
Okay.
get vinyl CDs or downloads if you go to ShawnMaxwell.com. Just saying, Christmas is coming up.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
then
sir.
the next
Christmas
album will
gift.
come out April of 2022. There'll be more information coming out on my social media and website
Got
in
it.
the next month or so.
Perfect.
Got it. That's perfect.
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
once
you
again.
so much.
Everybody, Shawn Maxwell. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. We want to thank you guys so much for actually being on the show with us today. We had such a great time with each and every one of you guys. Man, hey, just like my man Shawn Maxwell, now you got to love the name. Hey, 21 years as far as in the business, being a musician, and just composing, being an educator, being a performer, and playing also multiple instruments. You know, that means that you can do it too. Hey, being an educator at the very beginning wasn't his first choice, but hey, the man upstairs say, hey, you need to go and change somebody else's life and show them how to actually play an instrument. And that's exactly the path that he took, and also loving it just as well as we are. But we want to thank you guys so much for being on the show with my co-host, Valerie Malesio.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Next week, get ready. It's going to be epic. We got a former NBA player. We got a Harlem Globetrotter. We also have, he has his own cannabis business as well too, and it's hitting the market like crazy. My man Rob Griffin will be here in the loft with us, so make sure you guys tune in with us. And thank you guys so much for also being here on the show. And don't forget to share this video. Let everybody know that, hey, the Rico No Suave show is a show to actually be on and actually to be able to watch. All right, everybody, I got to get out of here as we end off the show, everybody, just like this.